Hello, friends, and thank you so much for downloading this week's podcast. We are so excited that you're taking time to grow in your faith by listening to these messages. That's our dream in these sermons. We hope that in some small way, they help you in your walk of faith, help you to grow into the person that God yearns for you to be. We also want to encourage you to be part of our social media family. Every day we try to post encouraging messages on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can simply go to these different social media accounts and click on St. John the Divine and be part of our social media family. And if you don't live in the Jacksonville area and don't have access to a church, we encourage you that every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. we broadcast our Divine Liturgy live. You just simply have to go to www.stjohnthedivine.com. That's our church website. At 10 o'clock in the morning, click on live broadcast and you can watch our services live. And finally, we're really excited about a brand new internet radio show that we have here at St. John the Divine called Healthy Minds, Healthy Souls. It's broadcast on the second and the fourth Tuesday of every month at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Simply go to ancientfaith.com at 8 p.m. Eastern Time and click on the banner for Healthy Minds, Healthy Souls. In this show, we hope that we're kind of merging faith and psychology to kind of give you some practicality in your own walk of faith. So once again, thank you so much for downloading this sermon, and we hope to see you soon at St. John the Divine. God bless you and staying strong in your faith. So we've been in this sermon series for the last 7 weeks. It's a sermon series that I've called Heroes. And the premise behind this sermon series is that all of us have had people, if you just think about it, people that have spoken life into you, who've encouraged you, who've inspired you, who've empowered you to be the person you are today. I've shared with you on many Sundays who are some of my heroes, and one that I just want to highlight just for a moment is my 6th grade teacher named Mr. Larson. I was not the best student in my elementary and middle school years, and I needed someone to kind of guide me, to put me on the right course. Mr. Larson was that person for me. He shaped my life, and to this day, he's probably one of the most influential teachers in my life. He was a hero, an education for my life. Maybe you too have a hero that's a teacher that you had in your life. Maybe it's a parent. Maybe it's a coach. But whoever it is, you wouldn't be who you are today if you didn't have heroes in your day that have shaped your life. And just like we all have heroes in our day, can I tell you something? The Bible is filled with heroes that are all there to inspire us, to empower us, and to encourage us. And over the last 7 weeks, we've been talking about different ones. And I think one of the things that they all would tell each and every one of us is this: we were not perfect. Just because we're in the Bible does not mean that we were perfect. But study how we lived our life so that you can know how to live your life. Study how we became people of faith in our day so that you can learn how to be a person of faith in your day. And we began with people like Joseph and Noah, Abraham, Rebecca. Last couple of weeks ago, we spoke about Samson. We even spoke about the Samaritan woman in the New Testament and Saint Moses, the Ethiopian. But this week I want to kind of follow it in and kind of close it all out with one of the most extraordinary people in the Bible. His name is King David. David lives about 1,000 years before Christ walks on this earth. When you study his life, let me tell you something. It is extraordinary. You find out a lot about his life in the book of Samuel in the Old Testament. In his life, it's constantly this ebb and flow of tests that God gives him. Some of those tests he fails at. David has a relationship with a married woman named Bathsheba. He ends up trying to kill her husband. He does a census and tries to count the number of people that are in his army at the cost of many people, many Jewish people's lives. But he also did many good things. He passed a lot of good tests. One of them was he fought Goliath. Another one was that he brought the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant, if you ever read about it, is the 10 Commandments. It's the tablets of the 10 Commandments. It is manna that the people of Israel would eat while they were in the wilderness for 40 years, that food that they would sustain them. He brought that back to Jerusalem. He became a king of all of Israel. In fact, to this day, the city of Jerusalem is called the city of King David. And I think if he was to give all of us a message on this final Sunday in this sermon series of heroes, I think he would look at you, and I think he'd look at me, and he'd say this: I wasn't perfect, but be prepared. Be prepared for the tests you're going to be taking in your life. I think he'd say it like this: be prepared for God's test so that you can fulfill God's best. Be ready to pass God's test in your life so that you can become all that God yearns for you to be. Let me show you how he passed those tests. I think there's 3 key tests that David passes that I think every single one of us are going to be asked to pass. Here it goes. Number 1, he passed the arrogance test. When King David is anointed as the king, he's anointed at the same time that another king is anointed, King Saul. Yet every time that King David is in the presence of another king, who's the same king of that same area, Saul, David always greets him this way. This is a king who's anointed by God. Not through an election, not through an electoral college. He's anointed by God. And King David responds like this: Saul, I'm just your servant. I'm just your unworthy servant. King David would have never killed Goliath if he had not greeted Saul with that phrase: I'm just coming to you. I feel like I can defeat Goliath. I'm just coming to you as a servant. In our life, friends, one of the biggest giants that we all face that's constantly on attack for us is our ego, is our pride, is a desire for us to tell people and to show people how great we are. In fact, we live in a society that tells us that we should go around talking about how great we are. And for all of us, we need to know this from the very beginning, church family, is that if you live your life wanting the giant of pride to guide your life, you will receive an earthly kingdom round of applause. That yes, people on planet Earth will go, wow, you are amazing. But God says, you won't get a prize in the heavenly kingdom. King David says this about humility. He says it, we say this every single Sunday when I'm doing the little sensing all around all of you just a few moments ago. The prayer that we say is the 50th Psalm. And this is what King David says: a contrite and a, listen, humble heart, you, O God, you will never despise. In other words, if you want to know what makes God happy, is when you're humble, is when you don't make it all about you. And I say this respectfully to even our church. Sometimes we as Christians can fall into this. Sometimes we can make what we're doing as a church be about us. We've raised this kind of money. We're building this kind of church. Listen, be humble or you will stumble. Everything that we have, never forget it, is only by the grace of God. We got to pass that arrogance test. Number 2, I think the greatest test that David passes is he passes the authority test. Do you know, it's interesting when Samuel comes to Saul and says, Saul, let me tell you something. You were a good king, but now God wants to anoint David because you, Saul, ran a good race early on. You were very faithful early on in your walk of faith, but then you turned away and did something wrong and lived a different kind of life. And because of that, I'm taking away your kingship and giving it to David. Saul's like, what do you mean? I've been a good king. And then Samuel, who has the words of God coming to him, says to Saul, he says, Saul, you were not under the authority of God. You do not act in obedience to God. What does he mean? Every day you need to know, church family, that there are people vying for you to fall under their authority. It could be what we see in Hollywood. It could be for some of you what you watch on NASDAQ every single day. Some of you could be your job. But whatever it is, there are things vying for you to follow under their authority. Let me put it to you a different way. There's two areas in the Old Testament that speak about the fall of Satan: the book of Ezekiel and the book of Isaiah. I know we all know about the fall of Satan, but did you know how many people, how many angels Satan took with him? It wasn't just him that fell from the sky. Listen to this, church family. 1/3 of God's angels fell under the authority of the devil. And they're with God every day. And so what I want you to know is that there are things that are vying for your authority, that are vying for you to follow. And can I just give you a word of encouragement? Don't put anything where only God should be. And the greatest way of how you know where God's in your life is the importance you place on Him in your life. And one great way is how you wake up in the morning. King David says this: early in the morning, not late at night, not when I'm half asleep, but early in the morning, I wake up, and the first thing I do, this is the words of David, I give praise to God. You will always know the importance of God in your life by the priority you place on Him in your life. Where is He in your life? And the final test I think that we have to follow, I think David does a great job with. He does great with the authority test. He does great with the arrogance test. And I think he tells us to pass the abuse test. So you need to know that Saul yearns to kill David. He becomes so jealous of him that he travels all over to find him, to kill him. One time, King David is with one of his friends named Abishai. And they're in this area. They're in this area where all of Saul and his army is. And unbeknownst to them, they get right up on Saul while Saul is sleeping. Abishai says to David, kill him, because this is the man that's been trying to conquer you and been trying to kill you. Listen to how David responds. If you had someone literally after you to kill you, the response would be, let me kill him. His response is, don't put a hand on him. Don't touch him. And can I just give you a word of encouragement? We live in a world that says an eye for an eye, to pay back people that do things wrong to you. But David would teach us, don't do that. This past week, we were invited to give a prayer at an event where Nelson Mandela's daughter was there present. And the event was extraordinary. It was one of the most moving experiences, and some of our church family were with us there. And you read the life of Nelson Mandela. 27 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. And he says this amazing thing about forgiveness. He says, a courageous person who is one who's never afraid to forgive for the sake of peace. Can I just give you a word of encouragement that you're going to face people that are going to hurt you, that are going to offend you? I get all that. We've all had people that have done that to us. But a true mark in your walk of faith is when you can say, you know what? I forgive. I'm letting this thing go. I leave you with this. Studies show that we have, on average, about 2 hours of dreams every single night. Some of the dreams that we have are positive dreams, exciting dreams. And then some of our dreams, in fact, most of the dreams that we have during the evening, during this 2.5 hours of dreams that we have every night, are dreams that are filled with fear and anxiety. Now, many of those dreams we never remember, but there's one dream that I always have that I want to share with you that is based in anxiety. I'm back in high school. I'm wearing my nice clothes, my nice threads, and it's right before school starts, and I'm there, and everyone's talking to me, and I'm talking to everyone. We're having a great time, and I look at my watch, and we're like, oh my gosh, I've got plenty of time to hang out with my friends, so I'm spending time talking to this person, then going to that area and talking to that person. And then all of a sudden, the bell rings. And in this, the bell rings, and everyone is shocked. We're like, wait, we still have time, but we got to go to class. And so we go to class, and this is a dream that I have. It's one of the most, it actually gives me a little bit sweaty right now. But I go into this classroom, and all the other students are there, and the teacher looks at us, and she says to us, Okay, guys, take out a pencil. It's the final exam. And the test that you're going to take is going to determine if you pass or you fail the class. And as I was thinking about this, I was thinking to myself, in this dream, my hands start to sweat, my heart rate rushes, I start to perspire everywhere, and my hands start to kind of shake. I'm not even able to answer or even look at the test. But I think in many ways, this is how life is going to be. Because there is a test, friends, that's not a dream. That there is a test that all of us will have to take, in which we might be just kind of thinking, okay, I can hang out with my friends and spend time doing this, and we don't have a worry in the world until the sound of the trumpet of God sounds. And during that time is when it's test time, and either we pass or we fail. And I think David, as we close out this sermon series, would be telling all of you, St. John the Divine, it's great that you're in church today. It's great that you're going to receive the body and the blood of Christ. But be ready for the test. Be ready for the test of arrogance. Because today you may be tested to talk about how great you are, and you need to shift about how great God is. That maybe today you're going to be tested with the abuse test, where someone is going to offend you and hurt you, and you are called to say, you know what, I'm a courageous person who's simply going to forgive that person. That maybe today you're going to be tested on whose authority are you truly following under. And you want to say, God, I just want to follow under your authority. Church family, be prepared. Be prepared to take God's test so that you can be God's best. Be prepared to take God's test today so that you can inherit all of God's best tomorrow. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.